After I transmigrated to the beastman world, I became the only human female here. All the furry beastmen wanted to snatch me home as their wife. Look, every single one of them is over 2 meters tall. And super buff. I took out the weak little black rabbit I picked up and said, "He and I are a couple." But the beastman immediately dropped to the ground in terror. "Boss, how did you get captured?" "We have zero interest in your wife, we swear." I got separated from my group and got completely lost. When I was about to starve to death, I caught a black rabbit in my trap. He was chubby and round, like a lump of coal the size of 2 palms. The rabbit had wide red eyes, looking all innocent and adorable. Next to him lay the skeletons of several ferocious beasts. Their bodies looked like they'd been torn apart and eaten by some monster. I hesitated for ages and couldn't bring myself to eat the rabbit. After all, for all these days, this is the first harmless little animal I've seen. In the jungle, 7 to 8 meter tall elephants pop up now and then, along with pythons as thick as tree stumps. Cuties like this are perfect for company. Bunny, you gotta stay with me, okay? I'll name you Little Black. I pulled him into my arms, ignoring the little black rabbit's struggles, and squeezed his whole fluffy body all over. His stomach was growling loudly, so I stuffed the leftover fruit into his mouth. "Be good, this is all the food I have left. If you're hungry, just go to sleep. You won't feel hungry when you're asleep." The little black rabbit looked up at me, his ears twitching slightly, like he wanted to say something but held back. "Ah, you precious little thing." I couldn't help smothering him with kisses. He kicked out with both hind legs and smacked me right in the face, like he'd just been deeply insulted. The little black rabbit scurried to the corner of the cave, blending into the darkness. I had to lie down to sleep, clutching my growling stomach. Half asleep, I felt something warm in my arms. Turns out Little Black was cold at night, so he crawled into my arms on his own. I lifted the rabbit to my chest and buried my face in his soft belly and fell asleep smelling his nice, meaty scent. That night, thunder and lightning struck outside the cave. I sighed. It's a heavy rainstorm again. I complained to Little Black. "What are we gonna do? Are we gonna starve to death? We haven't had meat for days. I'm so poor and unlucky." Little Black blinked his eyes, stuck out his little tongue and licked my chin, then rested his paw on my stomach to comfort me. The rain didn't stop the next day. I sat in the cave hugging my knees, feeling super anxious. I opened my eyes this morning, and Little Black was gone. I searched everywhere. Couldn't even find a single rabbit hair. He's so weak and helpless. He must have been eaten by some wild beast. Thinking that, I yelled his name sadly in the rain. "Little Black, my poor little black baby. You died such a terrible death. I'll always remember your nice meaty scent." Just then, a black flash zipped past. The little figure hopped in from the rain. Little Black shook the water off his fur, his 2 little front paws tucked to his chest. His red eyes stared at me quietly, then glanced at the half-chicken he'd brought back. "My bunny is actually an amazing hunter." I squealed and picked up Little Black and checked him all over. Turns out he didn't have a single scratch on his little body. Only his ears were a little warm. I quickly started a fire by rubbing sticks together and made a pot of chicken soup plus roasted chicken legs. When Little Black saw the fire, he huddled next to me shaking. The fire reflected clearly in his eyes. I gnawed on a chicken leg in my left hand and petted the little bunny with my right hand. I felt like my whole life was complete. I tore the meat into strips and stuffed them into the little bunny's mouth. In this other world, rabbits eat meat too. Little Black ate every last bite, even licking the meat crumbs off my palm and even the bits between my fingers. Then looked up at me with his round eyes. After we ate and drank our fill, I stretched lazily and caught a whiff of my own stinky body odor. "Little Black, let's go take a bath." He froze immediately when he heard that and immediately curled up into a shy little lump of coal. "There's a hot spring nearby. I found it not long ago." Steam was bubbling up from the water. I stripped off my clothes in 2 seconds and swam to the middle. Little Black stood frozen on the shore. I grabbed him and pulled him into the water. "Aw, what a timid little bunny. It's not like I'm gonna do anything to you." He floated on the surface of the water. Only his little wet head was sticking out of the water, along with a pair of red pearl-like eyes brimming with moisture. He looked so endearing that even I felt soft for him. I figured the little rabbit hunter must be covered in dust after hunting. I grabbed Little Black and scrubbed every inch of his body carefully. Oh, whoa, I felt a slight chill on my skin. I rubbed him faster and snickered. "All right, I'll stop picking on my Little Black. But he had already shut his eyes out of embarrassment. Floating motionless on the water surface, every part of him looked tiny and delicate. I couldn't help snorting with laughter. Little Black, how come every part of you is so small? How are you going to get a wife with this size? The little rabbit let out a sharp squeak and swam to the shore at lightning speed, shaking his head and flicking water off his fur. He stood on the rock, stomped his foot angrily and glared at me, then darted into the bushes and disappeared. I laughed so hard I got hiccups. I soaked leisurely for half an hour, then got ready to get out of the water and leave. But a shadow fell over me from behind. How come there's a precious female here? I was carried straight into the orc settlement. His facial structure was just like a human's, only his features were more wild and sharp. He was super handsome, but almost 2 meters tall. He had piercings on both his head and tail. His whole look radiated wild and powerful beauty. The one who brought me back was a spotted leopard orc. He placed me on his broad back as if I were royalty. This female smells so good. She's gonna be my wife. All the others lost their minds, dude. Where did you pick her up? I want to go there too. She's so pale and soft. Is she a little female that ran away from some tribe? She came out of the Black Forest and didn't get a single scratch on her. You didn't steal another orc's wife, did you? Those several-meter-tall orcs were making a huge ruckus, enough to shake the whole ground. The leopard orc shielded me behind him, his pair of blue eyes fixed on me. He asked seriously, female, will you be my wife? When I stayed silent, the other orcs also surrounded me, all pitching themselves as candidates. The werewolf perked his ears and wagged his tail. I'm very obedient. I've been the top hunter every single year. The antelope orc held out his hand politely. Our tribe is very gentle. We're great with kids too. You'll never have to lift a finger for anything. Then a giant python slithered to my feet, hissing, I can satisfy all your physical needs. After listening to hundreds of orcs pitching themselves, I huddled under the spotted leopard, and for a long while, I finally forced out, can you all stay away from me? I can't even see the sky anymore. They let out a collective sigh, then rubbed their noses and stepped back. All of them were still eyeing me greedily. I whispered hesitantly, can you give me a few days to think? Just one night, female. The spotted leopard looked at me full of expectation. Get a good rest tonight. And tell us your decision tomorrow. It's such a hard choice. Taking all of them actually wouldn't be that bad. Enough. He lifted me up and placed me in a special VIP hut. It was lined with soft flowers and had berries and fresh meat inside too. Remember to pick me, female? The leopard lay at the entrance looking at me, then jumped down reluctantly. I lay curled up in the nest, tears welling up in my eyes. I felt like I'd been sold deep into the mountains, with no relatives or friends around me. When the sky outside gradually turned dark, everything was pitch black. It seemed this tribe didn't know how to make fire yet. I heard the sound of the orcs sleeping nearby. I carefully climbed up and snuck out of the hut. Once the sun rises tomorrow, the orcs will force me to pick a mate and have babies. I have to escape fast. The hut was a full 2 meters above the ground. I clung to the tree trunk and climbed down bit by bit. As soon as my feet touched the ground, I felt something warm on my neck. Something fluffy poked my body. My scalp went numb instantly. Chirp, chirp, the next second, a familiar rabbit-scented figure threw itself into my arms. His eyes were bright red and clear under the moonlight. His chubby cheek pressed against mine. My little Black. I didn't make a single sound, and hugged tight the only friend I had in this other world. He let out a low, dissatisfied huff. Who dares to steal my wife? A furious roar came rushing from not far away. It was the spotted leopard. He shifted from his beast form to human form in an instant. His strong, toned waist and abs fully exposed. His blue eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight. This was the dangerous wild leopard of the jungle. I hugged the fragile little black rabbit tight and hid him in my arms. I must never let these savage orcs hurt it. People in the tribe are waking up one by one. They're surrounding all of us. Their stares look even creepier in the dark. The spotted leopard sees I'm holding something. His voice sounds all wronged. Hey, female, are you going to choose ahead of time? I'm the best in the tribe except for our boss, the bravest orc around here. You'll never go hungry if you pick me. Our kids will also be the healthiest and bravest in the tribe. The little black rabbit in my arms seems really annoyed. It keeps squirming nonstop. It even nipped me gently with its mouth. Seeing the horde of orcs closing in on me, My eyes burn from how anxious I am. Pick me, please. The spotted leopard mumbled, calling me wife. I stare at his huge, bulky body. It's like a solid, thick wall. He could crush me flat so easily. No way that's happening. I shake my head like crazy. I decide to just go for broke. I hold the little black rabbit high over my head and yell at the top of my lungs. Me and Bunny are a couple. Stop fighting over me. They take a closer look at what I'm holding. Their bodies jolt violently all of a sudden. They look like they're absolutely furious. Afraid the orcs won't believe me? I kiss the black rabbit's face a bunch of times. See that? I only like this type. Tiny, super cute ones. Once they get a good look at the black fluff ball. The spotted leopard's face drains of color instantly. His pupils waver in shock for a second. A few seconds later, he stiffly bends his knees and kneels. The huge crowd behind him, all the orcs drop to the ground prostrate too, while I'm standing there totally confused. The little black rabbit makes a squeaking noise. Its tone is super cocky and proud. The spotted leopard asks in a hoarse, respectful voice, "Boss, you're back." The other orcs burst out with terrified cries. "Boss, how did you get caught by the female?" "We had no idea she was yours." "Please don't punish me. I'm as blind as a bat. I didn't know you were our boss's wife." This soft, sweet, harmless little rabbit I'm holding. How is he the boss of these savages? The little black rabbit is named Thorn. He's the chief of this savage tribe. An orc standing nearby explains that their boss got poisoned over half a month ago. He reverted to his beast form. He went into the Black Forest to find the antidote. He didn't find the antidote, but he found a wife instead. That's our boss for you, so impressive. Little Black huddles in my arms and holds his head up proudly. When I realize the thing in my arms isn't a rabbit, but a full-grown adult orc, I don't dare touch him casually anymore, but the rabbit's head nuzzles up to me and nibbles my finger discontentedly. He lifts his head and grunts, and the nearby orc translates. The boss is very angry. Why aren't you petting him? He adds that the boss is the tallest in the tribe in his human form. He's super muscular and strong. He's also the best looking among all the tribes. Your kids will definitely be the bravest orcs in the tribe. The people here are so unreserved and bold. There's a whole horde of orcs kneeling in front of me. Any one of them could crush me easily. And this little rabbit in my arms is even stronger than them. I'm trembling all over. I don't dare think about it anymore. The spotted leopard suddenly looks up and asks the boss, "The annual orc gathering is coming up soon. If you don't revert to your original form soon, they'll try to take your position." He glances quickly at me. "And take your female too." Everyone's got their eyes on both already. The rabbit's fur puffs up in anger. He stands up on my lap and says something in beast language to the orcs. Then he licks my cheek carefully. His round little eyes stare at me seriously. He chirps a few times. The translator speaks up right away. The boss says he'll take a few subordinates back to the Black Forest for the antidote. He wants you to rest in the tribe. When he comes back victorious, he'll hold a ceremony with you and become your official mate. I don't want that kind of thing at all. I only see Little Black as a pet. I don't dare say my rejection out loud, because there's a whole sea of them right in front of me. Oh, right, the boss's name is Thorn. He wants to hear you call him by his name. I call out softly. "Okay, Thorn." The little black rabbit's ears twitch and flops softly into my palm. He gives me a soft, reluctant look. Then he jumps down to the ground, picked a few orcs, set off together. Thorn stopped in front of the spotted leopard, stepped on the leopard's paw with his tiny, fluffy pad, hissed in a super nasty tone. The spotted leopard lowered his eyes, got up reluctantly and left with Thorn. The leopard looked back and stared at me, mouthed wait for me. I had a bad feeling in my gut. My life is way more important. I'm not waiting for anyone. I'll run away tonight. I don't have any luggage here, but I need food to escape. I dropped hints here and there. Found the orc in charge of food. She's an orc. Females are in charge of the warehouse. The 2-meter-tall hamster orc looked down at me. "Little thing, you can only get one portion of food per day." An orc next to her looked up at me. "She's so weak, don't even bother giving her food. How can her body handle those idiots under the boss? They've been fighting over her non-stop. A weak female like this is just a burden." After hearing what he said, a few orcs also glanced me up and down. "Yeah, she'd die if you even touch her. Just like stepping on an ant. Other than having a pretty face, she's all looks and no use." I cowered a little. and took the bag of grain from the hamster orc. I thanked her, and she ignored those trash talkers too. The orc said to me, "Orcs are loyal. We only recognize one female our whole life. You better take good care of yourself. Don't let the boss get hurt." "I won't, because I'm going to run away soon." It's not easy to run in broad daylight. I plan to wait till nightfall. Because they don't know how to use fire after dark. So they won't be able to see where I'm going. At night, the orcs went back to their dens to rest one by one. I slung my small pack over my back and left Thorn's den, getting ready to sneak out of the tribe's perimeter. A weird noise made me jump. I caught a glimpse of a few sneaky figures. They were squatting outside the tribe. They weren't from Thorn's tribe. The intruders were growling excitedly in their throats. People in Thorn's tribe go to bed early. If they get attacked out of the blue, they'll definitely be heavy casualties. I froze mid-step. The food in my hand felt really heavy. I decided to go back and warn everyone. Thorn's men all tensed up like they were facing a huge enemy, shifted into their huge beast forms, and jumped out of the tribe to chase the enemies. I breathed a sigh of relief, getting ready to run away for the second time. After all, their guard was weak right now. But I hadn't walked a few steps yet when I heard screams coming from the granary. It was the hamster sister. It was a diversion tactic. The enemies lured the elite forces away and sent another team to steal the food. When I got to the warehouse, a bunch of stranger orcs were surrounding the hamster sister. She had injured a few of them, but she was also injured and fell to the ground. "Get out of here!" The hamster sister saw me and yelled at the group of orcs, while telling me to run as fast as I could. I quietly pulled out my precious pepper spray from my pocket. Don't you underestimate me? I sprinted as fast as I could, like I was running a 50-meter dash, jumped up and sprayed them right on target. Seeing how tiny I was, those orcs let their guard down completely around me. They screamed like crazy after getting sprayed. "Ah, I got attacked by a little bug." What was that? A little cat charging at me just now? Help! In the deep grass behind the enemy leader, I saw a giant wolf slowly stand up in the moonlight. He stretched his body and shifted into a tall, long-haired orc. The werewolf stared at me coldly with his blood-red eyes. "You idiots, losing to a useless little female?" I quietly raised my hand and sprayed him a few times. The werewolf backed away in a hurry and choked on the spray too. He gave a vicious smile, showing his sharp fangs. "That rabbit has pretty good taste. You're interesting. See you next time, little feisty cat that failed to run away." I curled up in Thorn's den, resting while breathing in his fluffy scent. After the other orcs came back, they stared at me with weird, scared looks. The hamster orc was resting from her injuries and gave me a few extra bags of grain as a thank you gift. As for the few orcs that talked trash about me earlier, they also moped over to the door, peeking in nervously, left some weird little trinkets, apologized, then ran off. When I was half asleep, a pair of arms pulled me into their embrace. I was so sleepy, I didn't even bother moving. I rested my head on the soft fur and slept really well. I woke up in the morning. The little black rabbit was lying on my stomach, looked at me with those dewy, wet eyes. Rage was clearly simmering in them. Stomped his foot really hard, smacked his paw right over my mouth. His little mouth yapped nonstop. Spot poked his head in. The boss said, "If you act recklessly again without caring about your own safety, I'll lock you up for good. You're so tiny. What if someone eats you later? Guess I really have to tie you to me at all times." I patted Thorn's head to calm him down. He turned his butt around huffily, then turned back to nuzzle my hand coquettishly. I asked the other beastmen if Thorn had found the antidote. Spot popped out and answered, "We found it, but all of it was destroyed. There's only a tiny bit of residue left. The boss took it, but the effect wore off really fast. So it was Thorn last night, I knew it." Thinking back to that broad, warm chest, my cheeks burned up immediately. It's way too big. I'm so scared. Spot the leopard continued outside, saying the wolf tribe announced, "If they get to have you..." Thorn's roar cut off Spot right there. He was absolutely furious. The other beastmen were so scared they scurried away timidly. I rubbed Thorn's ear gently. I couldn't help cooing "Good bunny. Don't be mad, okay?" He huffed and pounced on my face to take a little bite. After Thorn fell asleep, I moved the little bunny's hand away and crawled out of the den. Spot the leopard was waiting for me outside. He nodded and smiled at me. "Little female, I can help you escape. But you have to do me a favor first." Spot is so nice, I thought. He wants me to go with him to get the antidote for Thorn. and then he'll send me away for good. The people of the wolf tribe are really curious about you. They won't hand over the medicine until they see you. Spot explained patiently, "It's to save our boss." I nodded quickly, and soon spotted several tall beastmen not far ahead. All of them had fluffy wolf ears on top of their heads. The one leading them had his back to me, broad shoulders and a narrow waist, long hair falling over his shoulders, wild yet elegant at the same time. Why does he look kind of familiar? Hearing the sound of our footsteps, their leader turned around, his aggressive gaze locked straight onto me. "There you are, little kitty. I've remembered your scent ever since that day. Wow, you smell so good. Oh no, something's definitely off." I took a step back immediately and called Spot's name quietly. Spot took the herbs and glanced at me looking kinda embarrassed. "Whatever, you're the boss's female anyway. I can't have you anyway, so I might as well trade you for the boss's trust. I'll tell the boss that you were attracted to the wolf tribe's power and chose to join the better side." Then he shifted to his beast form and ran out of the forest at top speed, leaving me and the wolf tribe members staring at each other awkwardly. Wait a minute, I got set up, and they're framing me too. I quickly pulled out my pepper spray, but their leader was way faster than me. He grabbed my wrist in one swift move and pulled me straight into his arms. His low magnetic voice sounded, "I can satisfy you too. Stop thinking about that little bunny, okay?" The wolf tribe is built on high ground. The view is really nice indeed. The wolf beastman set me on his shoulders. He held my calf and ankle gently. "What's your name?" Being called female all the time does sound bad. I had to reply Sangan. He repeated the name slowly, savoring it. While rubbing my knee, he whispered Sangan. "Anian, you're so cute." My hair stood on end instantly. He kissed my knee softly. "Call me Reynold." "No, call me dear." I didn't want to do as he said. Every second I hesitated. He would give me a little kiss. My skin was all warm from all the kisses. I could only hold back my reluctance. I said stiffly, "Reynold." He stared at me darkly and gave me a quick peck on the lips. "Dear Reynold." I finally shut my mouth. He was satisfied and brought me to the center of the tribe and announced to all the tribe members, "This is my wife, your mistress." All the wolf beastmen howled in unison. Their burning gazes were all fixed on me. I just escaped the rabbit den, and now I'm trapped in the wolf den. I covered my face and didn't want to say a word. Reynolds' voice was low and seductive. Next month. Come with me to the annual tribal gathering, okay? That rabbit will be there too." He pinched my waist mischievously. "Let him see that you're my little female." I couldn't help kicking Reno in the face. A footprint was left right on his face. His narrow beast eyes narrowed slightly. "Nice, kick me again." The wolf clan leader squatted and knelt down in front of me. He lifted his chin. I'm already in heat. You have the heart to ignore me. This mad dog has been teased for days." My face turned red from anger. I huddled in his wolf den. Reno pinched my ear like he was teasing an animal. I finally realized how the little black rabbit felt when he was dependent on others. It was so humiliating. A wolf howl came from outside. His face changed immediately. He told me to hide well before he went out. "Something is following the scent here. It might eat you up. Hide quickly." I don't have pepper spray with me. I hid right away in Reno's den. Only my pair of observing eyes were exposed. There was the sound of beasts fighting outside. Amid the chaos, a figure jumped down from the cave entrance. I couldn't see what it was. A tuft of fur was thrown right at my face. Squeak, I saw a pair of red eyes. Thorn the orc. The translator poked his head in through the palm-sized cave opening. "Boss said he won't trade you for the antidote. Even if he stays a rabbit forever, he will never sacrifice his wife." I had really mixed feelings. I picked up Thorn by his two short rabbit paws. He whimpered and tried to kiss my mouth. Thorn is way cuter than that mad dog. He's tiny, being like this forever is also cute. My heart skipped a beat. I was just about to leave with them when a huge figure rushed in and swatted the rabbit aside. Reno instantly turned from a wolf into a thin 2-meter-tall man. He trapped me firmly between his arms. "What, you came to my place to steal someone?" Thorn stood on top of the translator's head. He made a few cold hissing sounds. "Boss said this is his wife." Reno whispered a sentence in my ear. Then he let go of my hand. "Let the precious female make her own choice." I hesitated again and again. I stepped back and held the wolf orc's hand. Thorn's round eyes went even wider. His ears drooped down. The rabbit's cheeks also deflated. The translator hesitated for a moment and said, "Boss asks if you're being threatened. He's very powerful. As long as you come back, no matter where you want to touch, he'll let you." Reno's fingertips tickled the palm of my hand. I had to force myself to say, "Thorn, I really want to stay here." As soon as I finished speaking, the black rabbit turned around abruptly and jumped out of the cave. The translator looked at us awkwardly. He hesitated for a long time before pulling his head out. "Happy wedding, Chief Reno." I turned around and asked Reno, "Is what you said true?" He smiled playfully. "Of course, after all, a female came here before. And that's exactly how she left." I asked immediately, "Tell me then." "Thank you, Reno." He pressed against my body. "No way, you have to spend more time with me. Since that rabbit likes you so much, I want to get a taste of you too." Seeing that my expression turned ugly, Reno added, "Just stay with me for a month." Be good, Reno didn't do anything out of line. At most, he'd put me on his shoulders and take me around to see his territory like walking a dog. Winter was approaching. The tribe's food stock was running out. Soon I heard gossip in the tribe. Didn't the previous chief lose his mind over a female? He neglected his duties for her. And when that woman left, the former chief went crazy looking for her. He ended up blind and dead in the Black Forest. Reno has barely gone hunting lately. Don't tell me this female has bewitched him. I pretended to be asleep, straining my ears to listen to their conversation. It seemed Reno was back too. He laughed and dismissed their rumors. "What are you guys talking about?" "I'm just curious what that rabbit sees in her. I haven't even touched her. She feels like an ant to me. Way too weak. Besides, I want him to come back and be my opponent soon. If he thinks about females every day, he won't want to fight anymore." Although I was a bit annoyed at being talked about like that, I still rolled over relieved. Reno is nice. Then I'll play this little game with him. Reno didn't come back after dark. My head felt really heavy, so I kept sleeping groggily. In the middle of the night, a hand touched my forehead. "So weak, you're sick." I'm sweltering, wrapped in wolf fur. I keep squirming around. Reno comforts me, saying, "Cut it out. Go to sleep. This will bring your fever down faster." I could barely keep my eyes open after midnight. His voice sounded a little anxious. He said he was going to find some herbs. When I was half asleep, I saw a dark shadow jump right in front of me. It's Little Thorn. His chubby little paw felt my forehead to check my temperature. Then he stuffed a handful of herbs into my mouth. My whole body was weak. I chewed it half-heartedly. Thorn looked really annoyed. He patted my cheek with his paw, and then he carefully fed me a sweet, cool berry. Into my mouth. It melted right in my mouth. I immediately felt a cool sensation spread through my body. Then he quickly stuffed a piece of delicious roasted chicken into my mouth. He learned how to roast this from me. "How did you know I was hungry?" My brain was all foggy from the fever. I hugged him, crying my eyes out. Oh my God, I was starving to death. Why does everyone here eat raw meat? I forgot I could just roast my own food. I just didn't want to scare the wolf pack with fire. The rabbit pinched my mouth shut and forced me to eat a bunch more roasted meat. He grabbed my chin. I actually understood what his look meant. "Come with me." I squeezed his cheek groggily, shook my head and sighed. "I can't. I have to go home. This isn't my home. There's no games here. No milk tea either." He bit me really hard, like he wanted to say something else. But the herbs started kicking in, and I passed out right away. When I woke up again, Reno was sitting next to me looking at me with a half smirk. "You snuck food and didn't even wipe your mouth. That rabbit really cares about you. He even gave you his only life-saving berry. Poor guy. It'll be super dangerous if he gets hurt next time. The 1-month deadline is almost up. The tribal gathering Reno mentioned is here. Reno wrapped me in the most expensive and precious fabric in the entire tribe. He looked totally satisfied, and even pinned a few flowers in my hair. You're the most beautiful female beast today." Thinking I could go home soon, I didn't even bother struggling. I sneezed, and then he put me on the back of his giant wolf beast form. He let out a long howl and ran towards the gathering spot with his subordinates. Before we even got there, we could hear all kinds of noisy beast roars. Every gathering is the only time all the tribes get along peacefully. This is also when females pick males from different tribes. Females can choose their partners freely. Reno seemed to be in a really good mood, telling me about the orc customs. The wolf tribe is way too arrogant. They followed their leader straight to take the highest seat, but There was already a tall, sturdy orc sitting there. He was sitting against the light on a huge throne made of boulders. He had jet black hair, with a pair of beast ears flopping on top of his head. He had a lean, handsome figure and strong, toned abs. All the surrounding orcs were huge, staring at us coldly. I tried to get a clear look at his face, but Reno grabbed my chin. He leaned close to my face and whispered, "You can only look at me today." A berry came flying over and hit the wolf tribe leader right on the head. The man on the throne laughed. "Oops, my hand slipped." Reno didn't get mad. He smiled and took my hand, putting it on his head. "Rub it for me, babe." I heard the sound of stones cracking on the throne and the sound of someone grinding their teeth. Damn, this woman looks kind of familiar. She looks like that cold-hearted female who abandoned me. I looked over confusedly and finally got a clear look at the orc on the stage. Unlike Reno's arrogant personality, he had delicate, handsome features. His eyes were rabbit-like pinkish red. He was sneering with his lips pressed together. There was a proud, wild vibe about him, but his fluffy rabbit ears were perked up and all puffed up in anger. The veins on his arm were popping out. He was clenching his fists tightly. He was looking at me like he hated my guts. Next to him were people I knew. The spotted leopard, and orcs from the little black rabbit tribe, among others. He was Thorn, the little black rabbit. He wasn't the huge brute I imagined him to be. Instead, he had a wild, lean yet muscular build. That's the real evil leopard. The beastman gave me a casual glance, like it was none of his business. Reno wrapped one arm around my waist. His tone was flirty. "Females prefer strong men, aren't they?" the rabbit beastman asked expressionlessly. The next second, a cry came from the beastmen at the gathering. The sound of thousands of beasts stampeding came from the forest behind us. The exotic beasts of the Black Forest went berserk ahead of schedule. Reno's face instantly went stiff. He reached out to grab me tight, but we got separated by the panicking crowd. I panicked and yelled Reno's name at the top of my lungs. He still hasn't told me how to get home. There's no way I can die here. I felt like a sock inside a spinning washing machine. Surrounded by tall, muscular beastmen, I was tossed around until my head spun. An arm quickly yanked me out of the crowd. Before I could see who my savior was, I was already slung over his shoulder. My waist and stomach hurt a little from the hard press. I whimpered softly. The guy let out a cold snort, then shifted me into his arms again. Such a crybaby. If I wasn't here, you would have been stomped into a meat patty ages ago. That familiar furry scent hit me. I saw Thorn's jawline was tight. He nimbly stepped on the other beastmen's heads and easily leaped up onto a tall tree. I clung tightly to his waist, gasping in terror. After we got steady on our feet, Thorn's icy gaze fixed on my clothes and the flower on top of my head. "You kept calling his name just now. Do you like him that much?" Before I could say anything, he buried his face hard in the crook of my neck, sniffing wildly like a wild beast. His teeth, just like when he was in his rabbit form, pressed against my skin and gave a restrained little bite. "You've seen me completely naked. You've touched every part of my body, and you don't want to take responsibility." My mind went completely fuzzy from Thorn's bite. He was like a wild beast that hadn't eaten for months. Squeezing me tight in his arms, huffing in dissatisfaction, a voice called out to remind the rabbit leader, "The little female is going to suffocate. All the exotic beasts from the Black Forest have been driven out. The drug effect will wear off after dark, and they'll go back to their nests." The mastermind behind this, the rabbit beastman, nodded, but still didn't let go of me. Noticing me perking up to listen to their plan, Thorn pressed his head into my palm, rubbing my fingers with his soft rabbit ears. "Why are you looking at me like that?" he said. "I've never been a good guy. I told you before. If you don't behave, I'll lock you up." My wrists and ankles suddenly felt cold. Thorn smiled as he tied strong, soft knots around them. With a little white flower pinned to each knot, he kissed the flower, then looked up at me, his eyes full of expectation. "Do you like baby rabbits?" "Huh?" I shook my head like crazy. But Thorn's face slowly darkened. His red eyes moved close to mine. "Remember that day you ate my fruit? That's the fruit the leader gives only to his mate. You can only be with me." After that, Thorn stuck to me day after day and did all the things I had done to him before. Every single one of them. He grinned mischievously. "Didn't you like this a lot?" I buried my face in his shoulder and mumbled sullenly, "I want to take a bath." Thorn snorted and pulled me toward his own private pool. I added that I wanted to go to the hot spring in the Black Forest, the one where we took a bath together for the first time. Thorn's ears perked up happily, nibbling on my neck with a big smile. Okay, while he wasn't paying attention, I winked at the little wolf who was there to tip me off. He quickly vanished into the grass. Reno kept his promise. He secretly sent someone to tell me, go to the Black Forest and he'd help me get away. The night of the full moon. I heard wolves howling on the distant hill. Thorn's figure looked hazy in the moonlight. Standing by the hot spring, his hair was all wet. He put my hand on his shoulder, letting it wander down. You can do whatever you want with me? I looked at his blushing red face and felt a little guilty. I'd eaten so much of his food, and now I was planning to leave. Seeing I didn't say anything, Thorn looked a little upset. Like he was showing off. Look closely at my real form. It's not tiny like a regular rabbit's. It's totally good enough to win a wife over. My nose suddenly itched, and my nose started bleeding. He panicked and tried to wipe my face. Wait, I'll go clean myself up. Wait for me at the hot spring. I waited for the right moment to climb ashore, but Thorn grabbed me with a wary look on his face. The Black Forest is very dangerous. You stay right here. I immediately gave his lips several tiny pecks. He got so shy that he turned straight back into his beast form. He bobbed up and down on the surface of the water. He chirped softly, telling me to go and come back quickly.